Well, there was just a little complication with the old camera there, just kind of trying to get things started there. It was kind of going here and there, but tonight I kind of tried to download the last video from Amazon to upload it to YouTube. It didn't go through, but it didn't download, it failed. It kind of stopped in the middle of where it was, so I just decided that for tonight, I'm going to try to take things just a little further, see how they go, see what they do, make a little sense out of things, show here and there how it's going to be, and finally, that step that I did on the first 5 Santas in the last video, I'm going to do it on the last 5 ones for this video, just to kind of see how it goes. Apparently there was one where I forgot one side of the backpack on the last one, so I'm taking care of that part of that one right now, trying to get it a little more taken care of to where it needs to be, getting it in shape and in line, and a little grace and a little mercy come here and there and show us all a little bit of the good old faith we need to take things in life seriously as they need to be. So that's how this is going. That's how this will be for getting things together here. So might just finish off that last part of the backpack on that one that I missed it on one of the last videos. And so we're gonna kind of talk a little more while we're kind of taking care of these little things here. Take care of the step we did in the last video on the first 5 Santas and take care of it on the last ones for this. I'm learning all kinds of news this year. A lot of interesting news. You know, it was really hard last year with the way COVID was, and you know, there were just a lot of people couldn't be with their families for Christmas, and this year for the holiday season, they're kind of short on workers. They're thinking they're not going to have Santas in the mall this year, and because so many people have been exposed to COVID or died of it, and because with the men who were hired to be Santas in the malls and places, it's like they kind of, you know, it has so much to do with how it breaks social distancing guidelines, and so more of the workers want to be with their families this year, and it's just kind of not so much working out. I mean, since they couldn't be last year, this year they're going to be, so they kind of want to do that, and that's kind of the reason why we can't really have them there this year. There's just a shortage on workers this year, shortage of workers to do the job, and so for all we know, it's going to be hard on the kids, it's going to be hard on people, because everything's going to change little by little over the years. Last year, there were a lot of kids wondering if Santa was going to come. They wondered if Santa was going to come, all because of the pandemic and all. But we were grateful for the fact that Dr. Fauci spoke up, and first of all, before there was the vaccine, he told all the kids that Santa was immune to COVID and was still going to come. And then he came on there, and finally he told them that what it all comes down to is that it all just is the fact that kids were excited, and finally Dr. Fauci stated that he had already given Santa the COVID shot once it came out. I mean, it was last year that healthcare workers were first and people working in schools were next. Because I work in the school system, I was able to get the vaccine in a certain phase, and among the phase that it was offered to school personnel. So I was able to go down to UK's Kroger Field and go into that little room where they were giving out the vaccine, and I received it. It did me well, it did me good, took care of a lot of things. I was happy I was able to get it. I mean, I got the Pfizer, and side effects from the Pfizer weren't quite as bad as that from the Moderna. I didn't have the worst side effects of anybody I knew, but would probably say I had a few. It was all well, and it all worked out. Did it all a little bit at a time and make us all happy. And I tell you, I was grateful for that, because even as of this past week, I got to see my niece, all because I was able to get vaccinated. It was all because of the pandemic that she wasn't able to come, and I wasn't able to go see her. But we got things figured out. We got things taken care of, and finally we got it together. Come to think of it, since I mentioned this backpack on this Santa, this must be one of the ones on which I even forgot to carve it out in the last video, or the video in which I was carving the Santa backpack. So I'd say for this one, it's time I can go ahead, take care of that, get it out of the way, get it taken care of, make a little better world for us all, and see us all together and knowing one another as the kind we are and blessing we are and what we all know of each other. It all makes a better world, and I'm here to say that things get a little different this year. I wanted to say a little bit more of what I heard in the news about the Santa shortage, that they were even saying if they couldn't have Santa, to replace it with Mrs. Claus or the elves. But due to that same shortage, they even had a shortage of Santa's helpers as well. So it's all just a good little thing that takes its toll on us, takes little cares on us, and makes us all better. I'd like to share a little thing that kind of showed up in the craft fair yesterday. A little bag of something called reindeer food that I saw. What I understood about it was, I was asking them if it was humanly edible. They said it could be. It was just made mostly of things that humans could eat, but they mainly made it as little packets for children to throw out on the ground and, let's say, feed to reindeer. So it's just more than likely, it's like maybe they were thinking that when Santa and his reindeer come, and when the reindeer sort of fall on the ground, and when they come to get on the chimney and help Santa lift and help him get down the chimney, or I'm trying to say land on the roof. I'm at a loss for words here. I'm getting my words mixed up, but it's almost like because the Santa's reindeer come in your yard, the kids want to leave the food out for them so the reindeers can eat it when they come. Just like the way it is when, let's say, you leave out cookies for Santa, for example. Because sometimes kids always like to do that, leave out cookies for Santa, and from what they would see, it's like Santa would eat the cookies. And I tell you, one thing I think about when we were kids, one of the things we'd have in our Christmas dinner was rolls of bread. One day when we were kids, we wanted to leave out cookies for Santa, and our mama said, well, how about we leave him out a roll instead? So that was pretty well. That did pretty good. And I tell you, I'd say with all the cookies Santa gets on Christmas, it's like probably how he kind of gets his weight. There's a lot of things we shouldn't say, a lot of things we try to keep secret to ourselves. We were always taught growing up that it wasn't very nice to talk about people because of their weight or their obesity. It's the sad news about it is that it's not always because of what people eat. Sometimes it's because of your metabolism and body chemistry. And we should all just kind of try to be respectful of each other. Try to be considerate of each other. Sometimes the little things we say can really kind of cause little feelings in other people to get hurt. So we gotta be careful what we say and be careful what we do. Because I tell you, all the things we can say and do, little words we can let slip, little actions we can take for granted, there will come a time when sometimes all our words and all our actions, they can sure come back on us. That's just one of the things I just believe them videos I've been watching have really been teaching me. You learn a lot from what you do. Learn a lot from your mistakes. Of all things, people, God is always watching us. Jesus is always watching us. And we know one thing is that one thing people often do on Christmas is they celebrate Jesus' birthday. According to the calendar, we don't know when Jesus' birthday really is. Of course, the calendar we use now wasn't even invented yet at the time when Jesus was born. Of course, there were certain other traditions that caused Christmas to land on December 25th that kind of caused it to be the day people chose to celebrate Christ. And we don't have to get in on that because everybody just has their own opinions about that, and people, they kind of talk about Christianity versus paganism and all this stuff, but I've heard so many different stories told on that, and I've even heard people talk about the sermon my grandfather preached, and once or twice people have even shared that sermon on Facebook here and there, and it was all just an interesting thing to know and to learn and tell others about. But as my father, who is also one of those pastors, would say, if we're gonna like necessarily associate Christmas and Easter with paganism, we can probably just might as well not celebrate the days of the week either, because each of the days of the week is named after a pagan god. Sunday is named after the sun, and Monday is named after the moon. And I did a little bit more research to find out a little bit more about all the gods and all the ones the planets in the solar system were named after, and even come down to the fact that it all was just for another thing. So much difference in the words between the gods and the names of the days kind of gets us a little bit confused. But I found out that Tuesday is named after Mars, Wednesday is named after Mercury, Thursday is named after Jupiter, Friday is named after Venus, and Saturday is named after Saturn. So, what does it all come down to? In little times, little religions have done little things here and there. There's been so much opinionation in the world, and so many times people don't see how it really goes, how the world really turns, what it really does, what it really looks like, and we see a world that comes down to the fact that tradition has taken over in many ways. Our world is different from what it used to be, and times change too. I'd like to say that there's a little time in this world when it's a good time for Santa to come around. There's been years when even in the malls, Santa used to come as early as November. He'd always come before Thanksgiving and share lots of stuff with us. I remember when I was a kid, I mean, I did a little picture of Santa with 3 of my cousins. And I was in middle school at the time, probably too big to be taking a picture like that to school and showing it, but sure enough, I took it there and did. You know, probably not appropriate for a middle schooler to be doing that, taking that to school and showing it. Of course, I will say it kind of got me a little negative attention from the kids. Most middle school kids wouldn't be at a mall sitting on Santa's lap. Of course, I probably might have done it up until the 8th grade, but the thing is that things change over time. Things go different over time. There's been times in my life when little miracles happened at different places. It's like there's been times I've wanted to have friends who were ladies that would kind of pose in a picture with me with Santa. I had one particular friend who, I told her let's go to the mall and do it, but she didn't like having her picture taken. And generally, I don't really, depending on the situation, but always wanted to get a picture of Santa with somebody, a lady in particular. But it all turned out for the better when we started having those Christmas parties with that little agency for disabled people that I was a client with for a while. Few young ladies, even though they were married and had husbands and boyfriends and whatever else, any of us guys who wanted any of them to get a picture with Santa or the wolf with us could do it. So we did, and every year at the Christmas party there'd also be this place called Wolf Run, which was a wildlife sanctuary, and they would bring a little wolf out there that you could get your picture taken with. I had a couple of girls who were at the party with me one year do that, and they kind of took turns getting pictures with me with the wolf, and sure enough, it was a good enough thing that I got all them together in a picture with Santa too. And things are just blessed year by year, because you know sometimes you got to be really sweet to be working with disabled people. That's kind of what I discover about these people I've been with and people I've been around. The jobs they've done, the jobs they've helped me with, the jobs they've helped me get hired for, and all the places I've gone with them just to kind of make it so far as to do all the things we could do. I'm here to say that this world gets better and greater with time, and we all see little things that show us a little grace and mercy here and there. I'd like to say that I'm hoping to get these done between now and next fall. Hopefully have these Santas out at the local Lex Market next year. There's a lot of good goals to reach, a lot of places we'd like to be, and a lot of places we'd like to go, and a lot of places we'd like to see. I'm just here to say that as much older as I am, some of the things that excited me so much when I was younger don't really anymore. It's like the older you get, you just start to notice that you don't have all the same fantasies that you used to when you were younger. You just start to really see the true, realistic side of things, how they really go and how they really work. Because time shall never separate us from the things we see, the things we know and do. There's a lot we have going on in life and a lot in our youthful years. As I've noticed that the older I get, the more I see how things can really change in my life. And I see how life gets better and kind of makes it all better for me. We know there's a place in Ecclesiastes where Solomon says that childhood and youth are vanity. Perhaps Solomon must have been an old man who tried a lot of things and went by the time he wrote Ecclesiastes, because that's what he writes about in the book. But we also know that he also learned that for all the treasures this world could give, he kind of ended up finding out he still wasn't satisfied with it all. He found out he was empty with all the things of this world, and that he could only be happy with the Lord. So, he talks about all the book about things that are vanity, and like I've said so many times before, I'm an old man now, and that's kind of the reason why I come down to say that it's all like this. I learned that the things that used to excite me so much when I was so much younger, as you grow older, they just all become vain to you. They all become meaningless. Like the things Solomon calls vanity, and some of the older versions of the Bible in Ecclesiastes, it's like in the NIV version it is translated meaningless, meaningless, utterly meaningless. Like whereas in the old Bible he says vanity, vanity, everything's vanity. Because that's what he saw when he was under the sun. He thought it might be wisdom, that he might be the wisest in the land. And of course, he found out that where there is much wisdom, there is much grief. And where there is more knowledge, there is more sorrow. Indeed, I've found out that for myself. I've learned that the more I knew in life, the less I could handle. There was so much I wanted to know, so much research I did to find out so much more of all that I wanted to know, and realized the older I got that it was all just a lot of stuff that you find out more about it, and it just makes you a little more sorrowful to know it, because it's just how it is with wisdom and knowledge. And we know that in Christ, as Colossians tells us, that in Christ are hidden all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge. That was just one of our little Bible verses we did in Bible school when I was a kid. And we learn as we grow older that the Bible just makes more sense to us as we come along. And as for this evening, time for me to kind of chill the carving out and kind of put little things aside. Because I tell you, it's like last night when I was laying in bed. I was so tired, but I was wanting to carve, but too tired to do it. And some boy spoke up to me and said, "You can carve tomorrow." And sure enough, I got up this morning and carved a little on my new bear. And from what I'm seeing coming along, it's just working just fine and dandy. Making it come along just right and easy. Making this little show come up as good as it can be. So, I'd say that there was a particular step I was wanting to do on these, but turns out we already got it taken care of. The very step I was hoping to do all along, it's finally been done for a video. And of all this time, of all these years, we just want to say that I hope you all will have a nice and wonderful evening. It's time to close now.